Previously on the Simply Human podcast.
So when I started topically applying things, our skin is our biggest organ. You can put nicotine patches, you can put hormone creams, pretty much anything you put on your skin gets into your system. And it doesn't really matter if your digestion is messed up or not.
It's episode 245 of the Simply Human podcast with your hosts, Mark and Rick. And there's Jen. Two human beings.
She's not a host.
Being human.
I've been replaced.
She's not a what? Excuse me?
I said she's not a host.
Oh, I thought you said something else. Two human beings being humans. Our goal is to help you understand our humans designed to eat, sleep, move, enjoy, and how you can start living more like a human today. On today's show, it is Dr. Joe Nieusma. He is the fearless CEO and chief toxicologist at Superior Toxicology and Wellness, an international scientific consulting firm that he founded. And so I'm really excited to talk to Dr. Joe Nieusma. I'm hoping
we're saying that right.
That's how you say it. We have some housekeeping, and he's going to hop on in 7 minutes.
Teach you how to clean out the vacuum cleaner. Some housekeeping.
No. Like that was a metaphism, a euphemism more. And you might be hearing ads when you're listening to our show on iTunes. Okay, I have some exciting news, humans. Please just be okay with that for now, and you can fast forward through them. You can just fast forward. They're like 30-minute ads. They're at the beginning, middle, and sometimes the end.
Also, we've been doing this we have made no money for like 8 years doing this. So,
and we got our first deposit. Rick, would you like to share the honors of how much money was in our account?
Joy to the world. $3.24.
No, it was $2.97.
Oh, I guess they took taxes.
Oh wait, maybe it went up in the last. Maybe we got.
I thought that was what you sent me. It was
but it's like that's exciting because that means that on this new Red Circle platform, we have enough downloads for advertisers to actually say, hey.
We'll give that guy $1.50.
We'll give him like $1.50
to ruin his show.
And I don't think, and those shows and those ads, it's not like whatever ad is on the show is the ad forever. That ads will run for like a month at a time, and then they'll get pulled. And if we start tanking and nobody chooses to advertise on us, it'll go back to no ads. But if you see ads, just know that is a little bit of money. And when I say a little bit, I mean that quite literally. It's just a little bit of money.
We do this for another 15 years. You might pay for that computer you just bought.
Yeah, no, way
actually
more.
Not even close.
Years, yeah. But it is great. I got a couple of shows uploaded. It's been very fun. 245 shows, a lot of shows. And it's funny. Like we recorded like in December some shows, and the ones that I just recorded, I listened to the intros because I have no recollection of what we talked about, and I'm like, aren't we fun? Okay, there's one other thing that I need to say. 3 other things that I need to say.
Poop. Butt.
And that's all you know.
That's all I do.
I got 3 words to say to you, Rick. Okay. All right. Now listen, ever since the Lincoln,
I wish I could do that
I know.
With my hair.
Isn't that
like I wish my hair was thick and lustrous like that. It's just long and stringy like a drug addict.
I will say this. The Lincoln commercials and the Cyrus and that whole deal, I was kind of like out on the whole McConaughey. I didn't really know anything about him. He's just, I don't know about this guy. I'm about 8 pages done with this book that I'm reading with my eyes.
You're actually reading a book.
Actually, Jen is reading it aloud to me.
Is she doing the voice?
Cyrus. And I'm telling you, I am as big of a Matthew McConaughey fan. Maybe not as big as this guy. But
I won't give an eye roll because he gave a really impassioned, pretty great,
certainly
7-minute video that I watched this week about what's going crazy.
My unbelievably true life story starting with pumping iron.
God, we could do a whole show of inside jokes because Mark's brother Mark has 2 older brothers, they're twins, Brad and Jeff. Brad was like an Arnold super fan growing up, like
had all his movies,
kind of creepy, kind of like not safe super fan, almost like bordering on dangerously weird. And God, had posters, every movie, every book.
Yeah. So
Pumping Iron is just the most ridiculous movie you've ever seen, and that guy ended up being the governor of California.
he is a very interesting, and Matthew McConaughey is also like, his story is just like, it blew my mind. He's the youngest of 3 boys. Guilty as charged. Cyrus. And I just watched True Detective because I'm like all into this Matthew McConaughey thing, and I watched
the first season's really, really good.
It was incredible. I watched it like 3 days. I was like,
I can't believe we didn't tell you. Mark was mad at the group chat that we didn't talk about this like 5 years ago when it was new, but
Steve says that
we did.
That you did, and I'm
certain we did because like I was all about that show. Hey, don't look at the book. Spell his last name.
MCC.
Oh, Mark.
AN.
Nope. No. Look at me. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to teach you the easy way to spell it.
The N is Yugi.
MCCONNAUG or HEY. HEY. Yeah.
I remembered it. It's MC and then Kona. CONA. That's and then you.
That's a hard name to spell. I have a friend who can like spell it like without even looking it up, and it's.
Do you remember
wild.
Kelly Couch at ACU?
Yeah. Her
last name was spelled. It was Couch, and it was KAUITZSCH.
I do remember that. Yes. Because her boyfriend lived with me and got us evicted out of a house because he looked like an 80-pound dog, like in the house, tear everything up.
Didn't they get married?
Oh yeah. Here's a funny story about that. So he see if we can maintain some level of anonymity here.
Yeah, don't make me bleep.
I won't. So in college, me and him and another guy, we shared a house, and her husband, we'll call him Jay. That's his initial. He was a huge jerk, just the biggest, just most arrogant, just Rick with a P of all time. Well, he ended up getting us evicted out of this house, and I was like, you know what? I have nothing. Like, I'm out with this guy. Well, God, this is when I was still in patrol, so this is probably like maybe 5 years ago. I'm, middle of the night. It's like 4 a.m. I'm just chilling in my car, waiting for the next job to happen, and there's an alarm that goes out at a business. He owns a string of like places that make smoothies. He owns like 4 or 5 of them.
The Queen place?
Huh?
Is it?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, not the Queen, maybe the other one.
Yeah.
Well, so, and it's like literally it's across the street from where my area is, so I don't get to go. Well, the officer that gets there sends me a message, and I'm looking across the street at them. Like I can see them from like 100 yards away. And he sends me a message, hey, the guy who owns this place says he knows you. You want to come by and say hi? And I just went, nope. Just went right back to sleep. Wouldn't even cross the street at 4 o'clock in the morning, 100 yards to be like, hey man, what's happening? Like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to see that guy.
That is funny. And it is 8:30. So now the trick is going to be for Dr. N to pop into the waiting room. Did you get snow?
We got like really fat flakes, but none of it. I mean, it was like 40 the day before. And so literally the second it touched the ground, it melted.
I also have, well, hold on. I'm going to save.
You guys got a bunch, didn't you?
We got like a ton. Let me show you my snowman.
Did you just say that's what she said?
No.
Because I don't think she said, let me show you my snowman.
I do have a good story. We have to do the intro for the Brittany Baker one, and I've got a story for that with a picture. Oh, here's Dad at the bakery.
I remember that.
He listened to that show that we talked about when you burn your hand.
Did we get the story right?
Sort of. We were very close. So there's my 7-foot snowman.
And I want yourself. When Mark sent that, I sent a picture from like the part of Dumb and Dumber where he uses the carrot and the 2 coal.
I do exactly. And then I do have this exciting news to show you.
Mark is a cat person.
Tell
me the story of how you have a picture of a cat in your lap.
I made a cat friend. Okay. So I've always grown up, my brother Jeff's and Dad, super allergic. They hate cats. I've always hated cats. I have not been super sweet to Gilly.
You've seen her like once.
Well, I mean, like in the background, I'm always like, you're a good cat.
She's my best friend, Mark.
I don't. Sorry. Hang up. So that's our neighbor's cat, and they just got it, and it will like come in our garage, and it will come into our backyard, and when it breaches the perimeter, I'm not happy. I like will shoot at it with an airsoft gun. I'm like, get out of here because the butt juice and the whole thing. Okay. Well, during the snow day, we're outside and she came up and she started like rubbing up against my legs, like doing this whole thing.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'll pet you. But then I stopped petting her and she started doing like
rubbing her tooth on you,
like to try to get me to keep scratching her. And we sat there for like a half an hour.
Mark, how can you not like?
And now we're friends.
Look at this face. Look at this face. How can you not like this face?
Because that reminds me of Pet Sematary and the show.
Oh, she's so sweet. She's my best friend. Oh, look.
Yuck. Not only dogs did that. Meanwhile, my dog Roger has this big tumor in his mouth, and he smells like Satan's crotch.
What do you?
And
cat hair all over the place now.
And he has no teeth, and he has his ear gunk that just always have to scoop out with a a Q-tip, and I had to get like baking powder and like put it on his mouth and his teeth.
Maybe it's about time.
Okay, so let's do this. Because it's 8:33. Let us we're gonna go to he's not in yet. We're just gonna assume that he is. We're gonna stop the recording, and next time you see us, we may not be in these clothes. We are gonna be
it's gonna be in this clothes.
We were gonna be it's black t-shirt, I wear it every day. We're gonna be with Dr. Nieusma. So here is the interview. And we're recording, but will you pronounce your last name for us?
Nieusma. Just like you're reading news to your ma.
I said Nieusma.
That's the Hawaiian pronunciation.
Oh, is it?
You're trying to invoke every vowel.
Right. Yeah. All right. So where are you right now? Obviously you're in a room with white walls. Like where in the world are you?
I'm sitting in my office in Denver, Colorado. Actually, it's Erie, Colorado, about 20 minutes north of Denver. How about that?
Rick, do you see the sweater that he has on?
I do. I'm going to try not to fight you. I'm a huge Dallas Stars fan. I got to say.
Well, they almost made it last year.
It was a spirited contest that we came out on top in overtime, Game 7. I mean,
okay, yeah. And then Dr. Nieusma has left the conversation.
No, man, I love it. Hockey is the greatest sport on earth.
You've got the best player in the game right now. You've got McKinnon is the best.
Oh,
I think.
Absolutely. Vegas is saying Colorado has the best chance to win the cup, but that's why they play the games, because you never know.
Absolutely.
You never know.
I believe that Wayne Gretzky is the greatest player. Rick.
Okay.
Mark,
the adults are talking. Let's go busy yourself here.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, Doctor, where are you from originally?
I'm not really from anywhere. My dad was a career Navy guy, so I was actually made in California, born in Japan.
Explain what do you mean by that made? Can you go through that process for us? I'm not sure how that works.
Between conception and birth is 9 months. So, no, I have, my dad was a career Navy man. So I was born in Japan, and I lived in North Carolina, a couple places in Virginia, Illinois, Maryland. I went to undergrad in Michigan.
Dang, where in Michigan?
I went to Central Michigan University for in Mount Pleasant.
Hold on. Don't tell me.
Mark has this thing where he knows an athlete who went to any school in the planet Earth, and so he's trying to come up with who.
Oh, there was a quarterback in the early 2000s.
Hogaboom, Dallas.
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And another more modern one would be Dan Marley, played for the Phoenix Suns in the
NBA
NBA for a long time.
My gosh, I hated him as a man.
I was actually there when Marley played. So
really? Oh my gosh! So it was Majerle or something?
I don't have any idea. It's just one of those names that everybody always butchers.
Right. There's a J, there's an L, there's an E, there's an A, there's something.
Exactly.
It's like a spoonful of alphabet soup.
So that's
very cool. I went to graduate school out in Colorado, and I was working for Dow Chemical, and figured I'd just go get a PhD and go back and work for Dow Chemical. But when I got to Colorado, and you realize you could actually see the sun between November and May, I was like, who the hell would ever go back to Michigan?
Right.
So,
well, hey, so very quickly, we're gonna Rick set up the birthday game.
Okay, we don't know really why or how we started doing this or what the purpose was, but this is just what we do. Mark and I each get 2 cracks at guessing your birthday, the month and the day, not the year.
Okay.
Don't give us any hints. I'm the only one who's ever got it.
Shut
I
up.
nailed one time like 5 years ago, and that's the only time it's ever legitimately happened. So
Nice.
one of these days we'll get it a second time. I will go first because Mark wants the odds to be greater for himself because
Sure. Yeah. He's got 1 in 364. You got 1 in 365.
Exactly. So we're going to go with April.
This guy is a doctor.
April 21st.
You're wrong on the month and you're close on the day.
Ah, sometimes they give us hints. October 22nd.
No, you're farther on the day and farther on the month. It's February 20th.
Okay, believe it or not, honestly, Mark's not going to believe me, but I was thinking when he went, I was like, I'm going to go something around like February 20, in the 20 of February range.
Yeah.
Well, then you would have gotten your second one right on the nail.
Yeah, sure. Woulda, shoulda. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. I think the phrase is "Balls said the queen. If I had two, I'd be king."
Okay, so
Quickly followed up by "I have two, and I'm still not king," said the prince.
We're just gonna do this the rest of the time.
That's fine. It's all good.
Doctor, give us your version. We've done a more formal intro already in the intro of the show, but kind of give us your notes version in your own words, kind of how you got to where you are today. You kind of already covered some of it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, where I am is running superior toxicology and wellness, and the overlying trend of superior toxicology and wellness is looking for new ways to solve old problems. So it's a consulting firm that does most of its business with pharmaceutical companies, and we're always in the safety business, making sure that the employees that are making tablets and capsules aren't getting hurt by the drugs that they're making, the tablets and the capsules, because they're dealing with chemicals that are designed to have an effect on the human body. And if there's a pathway of exposure, those drugs will have that effect 100 times out of 100. So in addition to that, I'm involved with a company called Twin Oxide. And Twin Oxide is a product that when you replace chlorine in drinking water purification with Twin Oxide, you remove carcinogens from the drinking water. You know, most people would think that's a good thing. The engineers and bean counters that are in control of water treatment plants seem to think that the general population is okay with carcinogens in their drinking water. When you take the question to the people, you get a very different answer.
No way.
So it's a new way to solve old problems. And the wellness part of superior toxicology and wellness is really aimed at the guys, you know, that have taken 30 years off to work, earn money, raise families, do everything for everybody else but themselves. And they wake up one day and they look in the mirror and they see a fat guy looking back on them and they say, how the hell did I ever get here? And with that premise, there's a wellness section that'll be available on my website, superiortoxicology.com, very soon. I just actually got a text from my web developer saying it's almost done, that gives very practical advice for things you can do to improve your air, to improve your water, to improve your activity, to improve your drug profiles. And superior toxicology and wellness is really aimed at trying to take a 300-pound fat guy that's really only 150 pounds on the inside and see if we can walk him back down that path to taking control of his own wellness. Because you have to be in control of your own wellness before you can make any long-term change that's going to take root and actually be successful. So that's what I'm trying to do in this day and age. And basically that's it in a nutshell.
So, like, there's this misconception. Well, I don't want to lead the witness here in saying there's a misconception, but there is this idea
you
that,
could try.
Yeah, if you are this or big, like you said, like a big, great big unhealthy person, that is the sole reason for that is that you eat too much and don't move enough. Period. The end of story. That is all there is to it.
There are no other factors. It is literally those. It is a willpower issue over those two things.
So
you guys have said that a lot, and it's very powerful. But you're full of shit.
Right. so
sorry, listeners. The guest just called your hosts full of shit.
Well, but take that idea
Oh, yeah.
And explain why that is such a deal.
Sure.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I like to say big does not always mean unhealthy.
Right.
You know, my last name is Nieusma. It's Dutch from the Friesland Islands in the North Sea. And I have been told, I've never done the research, so I'm just, passing on conjecture, that the Dutch are in the top 2% of the largest people on the face of the earth. And so large doesn't necessarily mean unhealthy. I go to my physicals and my parameters are all fine. My blood pressure is fine. My cholesterol is fine. I just got a big ass. It's just that simple. So the thing that you're looking at is you got to make sure you're comfortable where you are, and you have to base your own unique situation, because everybody is unique. You have to base your own unique situation on something that you're comfortable with. You can't go to those government tables, which are just ridiculously low, and say, well, let's see, I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall. I need to weigh 211 pounds.
Yeah,
if that were the case, if that were the case, I would look like I just walked out of the Baton Death March.
It's funny, like you say that part. I remember hearing a story back in his playing days. Herschel Walker, great, Heisman Trophy winner, former, NFL guy for
1982.
1982 Heisman Trophy.
I know who he is. He's a great ball player.
He was talking about, like, his post-career, he was looking at joining the FBI, but they wouldn't let him apply because his height-weight ratio showed him to be just tremendously overweight. And he's like the most physically fit human being that's ever lived in the history of the world, but because
Isn't it crazy?
So much muscle that they're like, oh, sorry, fatty, there's no way we could have you representing the FBI.
And the guy that called Herschel Walker fat died that day. And
probably because they knew Hillary. But my most cherished memory of Herschel Walker is him breaking the perfectly good bat right over his knee after striking out once. I mean, it's just like wham, right over his knee. That was awesome. Just plain awesome. But let's get back to the picture of health. And it's not just about eating less and exercising more. There is a book that I just read. It's called The Obesity Code by Dr. Fung.
Yeah,
read it.
Dr. Jason Fung. Yeah, it's
read it 2 years ago. Yep.
And that book gives you the roadmap as to why you're fat. It's all about spiking insulin levels all day long and developing insulin resistance. And the fact of the matter is, if you let yourself get fat, the deck is stacked against you because the fat get fatter. And it is so hard to battle back against the modern dietary regimen of the United States. And, you can say simple things, and this is part of my advice: shop the perimeter of the grocery store, eat whole foods and eat raw. But what I even back it up to even simpler. In Superior Toxicology and Wellness about food, what I say is, since 90% of the people eat 4 times more than they really need to, my mantra is eat half and mostly plants, and you're gonna make some difference.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's kind of what we talk about, like when we're talking about how our, the simply human lifestyle. We have 4 pillars. We have, eat like a human, move like a human, sleep like a human, and enjoy life like a human. Well, I mean, you're talking about eating like a human, how we were designed to eat.
Exactly.
To eat plant-based foods. Not saying that you need to be, a vegetarian, but like, more plants than meat, but
mostly plants.
The outside aisle of the outside rim of the grocery store
exactly
kind of embodies exactly what we're talking about here.
And if you really get in a pinch, you can say that barley and hops is typically a plant, so beer is okay.
Yes.
Just don't have 14 of them.
Right. Yeah. Just drink a beer
with store where they sell that on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Shop a million groceries, find the one where beer's on the outside.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
It's like ice cream. You only go to the grocery stores that have the desserts on the outside.
Yeah, there you go. It's that bakery aisle. It kills me every time.
I know you're suggesting movie topics. You've got intermittent fasting on there. We had a review a few years ago saying that intermittent fasting was like the latest fad, and it was this ridiculous.
It is.
I can't believe these guys are going in with this newest thing, and like our response to that is no. Like, this isn't like a new thing. It's like
no.
a whole barefoot running thing. This is how humans were designed to move. Humans are not designed to eat every 2 hours and keep that insulin spike. And even if you're not eating a whole lot, if you're overweight or have insulin resistance, it doesn't matter how much you're eating. If your insulin is,
nothing's going to change.
You're gonna keep
exactly. Nothing's going to change.
So what, like, I know, like, and then when you tell people who are so comfortable, and a lot of our listeners, that have iPhones, they aren't wanting for a whole lot of things. Of course, there are people in the world that do want for things, but most of the people listening to the show, when you tell them, like, to do something uncomfortable, like don't eat except at night or skip a whole day that you don't eat, that is so, that's like telling someone to take a cold shower. Like, that's not even
right. You rip your arm off and beat you with it. Exactly.
No way. But that's if you
the two things. There's hardcore intermittent fasting and there's beginner intermittent fasting. I'm going to put hardcore versus both of them help. And your 300-pound fat guy, you got to start in the beginning. Beginner intermittent fasting is you eat your dinner the same time every night between 5 to 7 or 8 p.m. unless you're 65, and then it's at 4:30, and then you just wait to have breakfast until you absolutely are feeling super hungry, because you're going to get 12 hours before you even wake up. And if you can push that to 10, 11, or even 12 o'clock, that gives you a very good period of washout for not having spiked insulin levels all day long. And the insulin washout is critical to give your body a chance to try to eliminate some of the insulin resistance that's going on. Right. And you can couple that with better food choices, so you're not eating the stuff that has just an outrageous glycemic index, which spikes your insulin every single time you eat it. And you need to do a little bit of research on that, because some of that is surprising and some of that can be misleading. But if you're interested in it and you do the research in it, you can make some very easy choices, which, for instance, pistachio nuts doesn't spike your insulin levels. Who knew that? And they're good, for crying out loud, especially if you buy the bag of them that are already shelled. You got Lazy Man's pistachios.
And I was going to say, I used to, when I you go through, you get like a bag of shelled cashews and you're just shoveling cashews. And I'm like, wait a second, Simply Human, how are humans designed to eat cashews? It's a lot of freaking work to shell. I want, you get through 4 cashews, you're like, screw this.
It's like eating crab legs, you got to rip the suckers apart before you can get at the meaty stuff. And it only takes one claw that works, and you won't eat that thing again because it hurts.
Exactly. So you mentioned in some of your stuff, how to reduce risk of cancer and other diseases.
Right.
Does this fasting thing, like the toxicology, how does all that play in with the, because that's a big, cancer is everywhere, like how?
Sure, absolutely. With the best thing you can do to avoid cancer is to keep your body in an alkaline state. Cancer cannot grow in an alkaline state. Cancer grows in an acid environment. And how do you do that? Well, 2 of the major things that are always overlooked are get good rest, not just sleeping all day long, but good rest
and passing out,
and hydration.
Yeah.
Most of the population is chronically dehydrated. If you do those 2 things, you're going to move towards the alkaline side. You can also do specialty things, drinking alkaline water, and staying away from the acidic foods and that sort of thing. But the hydration is probably the most important thing. The good rest helps with all wellness because it just ties everything together. And the body only heals when you're at rest.
Yeah. Well, and
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you think about like when you're making a list of things that you go the shortest amount of time where there's like a negative effect, right? I think of the top 2 to me is sleep. If you go one night without sleep, that next day you are done. Disaster.
Yeah. And that's dependent on age too. You can do it when you're a lot younger, but man, when you're 52 like me, it kicks your butt.
Yeah, well, a few weekends ago, there was a Saturday night. I fell asleep at 11 o'clock. I woke up at midnight and didn't go back to sleep. And I know all the tricks. I'm doing all this stuff. My head was in a weird spot, I guess. And so the whole next day I was a complete disaster. So I think of sleep and water. Yeah. Like and the 2 things that you just mentioned, rest, water. Like, that's not that hard to comprehend.
It's not. And then you couple that with better food choices, eating half and mostly plants. Yeah. And then, you run your water through a water filter, any water filter, even if it's a clean sweat sock as opposed to a dirty sweat sock, any water filter, a carbon filter in your fridge is good. The zero water 5-stage filter is better. That's what I tell people, that if they don't have a lot of resources, go get a zero water filter. The best is a reverse osmosis. It's all about what you can do for what resources you have. And everybody can do something. Right. Because you can always run it through your sock and take out the sticks and twigs and crickets.
Yeah, I've had a bragging montage. I have had a reverse osmosis under the sink filtration system for like 10 years, and so I even have one installed at my office. So I put it up there, and my kids are only drinking that, and it's just I just changed the filters out. You change them out once.
Fantastic. That's the best thing going.
Yeah, and so that's great. What about like the air filters and stuff? Is that I know a lot of people probably don't even know that they have to change their air filters.
If somebody does not have an air filter, and most people have a filter on their furnace in their house, and that's just a particulate filter. But if there is no filter in the environment where you live, your air filter is your lungs. It's that simple. But the best air filters I've found are the ones made by a company called EcoQuest. They've changed their name a couple times. I think now it's called Valera or something. They're a combination of ion generators and ozone generators. So the ions weigh down the particulates and they fall out of your breathing zone. You get more dust in your house. And the ozone is activated oxygen. It kills all of your microbes. So if you have one of those, then you're getting a lot of crap out of the air before you're taking those deep breaths. And you're extending the filterability of your lungs, if you will. That's a scientific term. But yes, you can do simple things for the air, for the water, for your food. And the other thing is you can also use other disinfectants to kill things like mold. Every house in the world has mold. All you got to do is add water. Brand new drywall coming out of the plant has mold spores. It gets wet, it's going to grow mold. Right. And the best way to grow mold, it's not a product on the market yet, but it's coming. It's going to be using twin oxide in just a bowl of water, like an aquarium, with an air stone in it. And so you're gassing your house with chlorine dioxide, twin oxide, and that's going to kill all of those airborne microbes, including that virus that your TV tells you to be scared of right now.
Right. And Rick used to gas my house when he would spend the night in.
I bet.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's reverse osmosis, all right.
Well, twin oxide would take care of that too.
Gross. Okay, we have about 10 more minutes, 9 more minutes. Sure. Let's talk about there's like so many different things here.
Sure.
What about medications? That's a thing now. Very few people
I tell you
in the world aren't taking some sort of medicine. What's with all that?
People wake up and they find themselves on multiple drugs. I call that polypharmacy. And that happens because people have more than one doctor. And doctors don't have time to look at what you're already on and what for before they throw their 1, 2, or 3 drugs at you. And before you know it, you're on a half a dozen things. On superiortoxicology.com, there's a program that I have. It's called HOPE, Health Optimization Prescription Evaluation. And anybody can go on there.
Say it again. Health Optimization.
Health Optimization Prescription Evaluation.
Got it.
And basically what I do is I have people fill out a form. They tell me what drugs are on. And I'll take the time to do an extensive analysis and give them the questions they need to take back to their physician to essentially say, Doc, prove to me I need to be on this medicine.
If I'm on this one and this one and this one and this one. Yeah.
Exactly. And every single one of those analyses that I've written, every single one without fail, there's been drug interactions. That means when you're taking drug A and drug B, they get together and do something funky that could potentially hurt people. Most people don't know that.
Isn't it true that they're not testing that in the pharmacy lab?
They don't test that at all.
Testing the one thing. Release it into the wild. Yeah.
And if you're on 6 things,
you're
throwing those 6 things into the mix, and they're all getting to play in the sandbox.
Right. Oh, man.
So I take the time to go through their physical history and talk with them if I don't have enough information before I issue that report that they can take back to their physician and say, Doc, can I get any of these out of my profile? And the last one of these I did, the lady was on 12 drugs and 17 supplements. And in those 12 drugs, there was 5 areas of therapeutic duplication. which means she was taking multiple drugs for the same thing. So we were able to help her a lot. And I eliminated, let's see, there's 17 supplements. I left 2 in her profile and added 1 called C60 Complete. And that's carbon 60, which is just the best antioxidant on the face of the earth. And it's combined with curcumin and black seed oil, which are 2 fabulous natural products with hundreds of years of benefits behind them. That product in and of itself, I call the fountain of youth. It's marketed by Pure Bella Vita and Live Longer Labs, but it's C60 Complete. You go to c60complete.com, and that one is definitely something that I would tell everybody in the world to try. I got my 80-year-old parents on C60 Complete.
So to the Hope deal, is that, can you go to superiortoxicology.com to find that stuff?
Yes, you can. And there's 2 buttons, one for 5 drugs or less and one for 6 drugs or more. It's not free, but it's not very expensive. It's like $125. So, yes, definitely. And the people that are on the statins, I highly recommend lots of different strategies to get off of those. The people that are on the antidepressants, half the world's on Prozac, for crying out loud. There's no reason for it. None.
Yeah.
So
we could do a whole show. We should probably do a whole show just on that at some point.
Totally. Yeah.
So wrapping up here, we have a few kind of end of interview questions that we're going to ask you. So
I'm ready.
What is something that you enjoy about life, or something you do that makes life more enjoyable, like a hobby, or just something that, other than watching hockey, you
travel.
And so wherever
I love to travel. My wife told me once that her favorite job was being the family travel agent when she was retired from being a pharmacist.
Well, you just say let's go here, and she's like, got it, and she's like booking.
We're actually an anomaly because we're timeshare owners that use them all. And I love it. My kids have been to Disney World 10 times. My daughter's 22, my son's 19, and he's a high-level hockey player. He's playing junior hockey right now for the Northern Cyclones organization in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Whoa.
And but I'm also a scuba diver. So I'm an island junkie. I've been to St. Martin. I've been to Grand Cayman. I've been to Aruba. I've been to St. Lucia. I've been to St. Thomas. So travel would be, what do I like to do? Travel.
Rick, I have been to St. Lucia. So very much. Okay, so
Oklahoma.
Shut up. So here's another thing. If you were to recommend, we already mentioned the Obesity Code. What are some books, resources, and maybe not even having to have anything to do with like nutrition, maybe just like self-improvement. I know the one I always talk about is Anti-Fragile. I love that book. Any books that top 3 or 4 books that you recommend to people?
Well, like I said, the Obesity Code is fabulously educational. Other ones that I've gotten a lot of good information out is Good to Great and the 10X Rule. And, I got one on my desk right now that's written by Jimmy Buffett, and I can't wait to read that one.
That's what we need. Like, you've got all these ancient Stoics, which I love reading all this, but like sometimes it's good to get the old Jimmy Buffett book or to get out the old Matthew McConaughey book.
Exactly. Jimmy Buffett has a flying boat that he keeps his windsurfer in, his bikes in, a bunch of band gear, and he flies around looking for places to go flat fishing, and then gets a boat out of his airplane and goes back to where the fish are. I mean, that guy's got it going on. And he said in that book he's lucky enough to have had the same summer job for the last 30 years. How cool is that?
That's the life right there, man. That's great. Well, okay. So last thing is, tell everybody, we already talked about Superior Toxicology. Are there any other places? Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
They can connect with me through superiortoxicology.com. If that's too hard, just Google Dr. Joe for Hope, and you will find me.
Okay.
Dr. Joe for Hope. Okay.
Google Dr. Joe for Hope.
Right now.
Awesome. All right. Well, like I said, we I don't know. I may shoot you an email and get you to sign back on, and maybe we can do because I know one of your bullet points is like positive attitude, and then how that can help in the whole Prozac thing, and like maybe having a conversation about that. I think would be beneficial, especially when mental health is kind of a big deal.
Oh, totally.
Right now. So,
because one of the keys is you got to quiet the noise. You got to find a place to get away from everything, just to connect with the universe.
Yeah, for sure.
Collective conscious is what that's called.
Awesome. Yeah. Gosh, there's another book that just popped in my head. We can just referring books. Dr. Nieusma, I'm sorry we had a little miscommunication on the front end. Thank you for hanging with us and doing this.
No worries.
Awesome. And I will email all the folks whenever the audio and the video versions go up on their respective platforms.
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome. Go Stars, I guess, Rick. Is that
you know what?
Go hockey.
Yes, go hockey. Yeah. Well, it may be like 3 weeks because the whole Stars team has COVID right now. So it may be a while before they get to play again.
Well, they'll lead the league because when they win their first 2 games, every other team had already played 40.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Dr. Nieusma, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
You're listening to the Simply Human podcast.
It's Dr. Nieusma. I said it wrong at the beginning, but it is Dr. Nieusma. And say that like right off the top.
You should start asking for the pronunciation guide and then email before.
That would not be that hard to do. Anyway, yeah. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
He was a funny guy. Good energy. I liked him. Cool. So that's a thing. I mean, I love. Sometimes we get really complicated.
Guess with like complicated, not complicated, but I know what you're saying. Like we have with messages that are like, sometimes it's kind of out there. We have to like do a lot of work to pull them like closer to reality. Right. Sometimes like this one is like
sleep, drink water. Don't eat every like 2 hours. Give yourself a chance to like reset and you lower your insulin, all that. So
his message lines up pretty perfectly with what we've got going on. Just be simple about it. Like, you don't have to do anything super crazy, super complicated. Just get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of water, try to eat mostly plants, and don't eat quite as much. And, it's not, if we don't all look like, like Instagram models, like we're not supposed to all look like Instagram models. Like we can't all look like that guy. Like, if you're healthy, then you're healthy. You have to obviously have to be comfortable, and that's, it's something that's part of it also, being comfortable mentally with what you look like or whatever. But just size in and of itself is not an indicator. It is not the number one indicator of those times.
And I'll look like this guy.
All right. Yeah, it's Arnold.
Ridiculous. There was one other thing that I was going to say when you were saying we can't all look like, we can't do, what were you saying?
Can't all look like Instagram models.
Before that, what did you say? Dang it.
Don't eat quite as much.
Oh, I was going to say like the whole intermittent fasting thing, like I've gotten to where like, the whole 1 meal a day deal, like, and I'm eating healthy stuff. Like it's so easy. And like the percentage of my like week where insulin is in my bloodstream, keeping me from burning fat for energy is very, very small, and so I just feel like it's almost like you can create a little bit more wiggle room. Not to say that that's what it's about. It's like trying to create things where you can like cheat. That's, that's not, I hate that terminology, but it's like, if you have a beer, if you have, some dessert at Thanksgiving or, it's not like, I fell off the wagon. And then you go down this slope of just self-destruction, it's just like, make a good decision. The next decision you make and everything will be fine. So anyway, okay. It is 9/11. We did a show 9/11 p.m. Now it's 9:12 p.m.
There we go. Let's wait till 9:12.
Well, all right. So it's going to do it for this edition of the Simply Human Podcast.
And my word is just, it's been a while. Remember.
Recuerdas. Okay, recuerdas. Maybe that should just be the end. Remember,
most arrogant, just Rick with a P of all time.
So until next time, enjoy yourself.